Blame it on the tequila.
Wait, yeah, I know, right? Wait. It's Resnick. Rizunik. Okay, because I'm really.
It was supposed to be Ukrainian, but after my cousin did some digging, apparently come back, he said we're Austrian. So I said, well, we should go to California and hit Ernie up for some cash.
I'm really bad with my hockey names. So I'm not. But Lisa is originally from Maine.
Oh, yes.
And when she, I think you were the one that came across de la Tierre first. I believe.
Probably. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh well, we went dark again. Hey, that's great.
What? It's dark in here.
Yeah, I don't know what is up with my phone.
Locked out. Yeah.
But we'll just keep talking and see if we can.
That's annoying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's all about.
All right. Well, we got Wayne. That's all that matters.
Yeah, you can just hear us.
I'm the star, really.
It's been happening too much lately.
Yeah, you just hate those guys.
I hate Blab.
Yeah, Blab, you suck. Just want you to know that.
Okay. What's the other? WebEx is apparently a pretty good deal.
We tried Google Plus. We had problems with Google Plus. There's a couple other ones. I mean, the only reliable one when we do our sipping off the cups, the ones that we do them over Skype, and then we record those. We have a separate software to do that. But what we like about Blab, up until like recently, is that there's interaction with people who can watch.
That's right.
But for some reason, these guys cannot. They could not help Lisa re-sign in, so we're using my laptop, and I honestly have never used it, even for Skype. I've never had a reason to.
This is my first go at it too. Actually, I went and bought a really cool looking mic that looks like a transformer, but I don't know what I'll ever use it for. You don't want to ever hear me sing in the shower, so it's not like I'm going to use it for musical intentions.
Well, they say that wear headsets and stuff like that, and we've never really needed any because we always do it together live. And the one thing that prevents us from doing it on separate computers is using the same IP address. So, we work with what we have, but. So, more importantly, you're with us. You are I don't know if you have a bottle of your tequila handy, but we do, and no one can see it.
Matter of fact, I do. But mine's got the Canadian label. You'd have the U.S. label.
Now, tell me what the difference was on that. Why did you need secret labeling?
Sugar content rules. The U.S. government, because they registered us due to sugar content as a liqueur, because of that, they said you're not going to use the word tequila. Canadian government was okay. The CRT was the one that specified it had to be maple liqueur tequila. Okay. And basically, it had to be maple cinnamon liqueur and no word tequila. That was more so the U.S. side on labeling cola.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Sugar content, same as what we ran into with the liqueur, maple liqueur tequila for Canada, for the Canadian market. And that was specified by the CRT.
So to be clear, you're in the U.S. You're considered a liqueur, right? A liqueur.
Yes.
And this is at 30. What is that? What's the ABV on the one that we have?
35.7% alcohol by volume, 71 proof.
Yeah, so it's way higher than what we're used to here in the States.
Even here, a standard liqueur here, you're 22%. For us mainly, it's the maple syrup that added all the sugar content to it.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have gone to possibly using a Blanco and gone to a 42% right out of the still, we might have been able to get around it slightly. Who knows? I when we worked with the formula and what I wanted a barrel. I wanted a bit of flavor. and it worked with the maple syrup conveniently coming out of a tree also. So it was just a part of the process. I tried a few Blancos, got right onto Reposados right from the get-go, and that's what we ran with. And, which is why, but even at, 35% basically, we're a little bit better than the normal thing.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
why did you even what made you want to have your own tequila, especially
Canada,
especially in Canada? Now, from what my Canadian friends have said, the LCBO, which is it's almost as if the entire country is a control state. So if anybody gets that in the U.S., you understand that everything goes through the buying agency for every province in the country. And so it's not only is it easier for the big boys to penetrate that country, but for smaller labels, it's really difficult. So why did you what possessed you, man?
Ignorance. Flat out. Oh, how hard can it really be? Now, there's a little more to it. I mean, Troy and I both been in the industry. He's corporate in the industry. Our backer for, it's on the label. Very professional. It was just, we came up with a formula. Ralph thought it was a great idea. We ran with it and really just overcame the hurdles as the hurdles came. Not really the way most people would do it, but we fell under a different umbrella, and it wasn't a matter of that we were all financed to oblivion and just trying to make it work. And we're still here. We're pounding away. We're doing what we can.
wow.
We're really trying to focus on Canada. And, at first, I remember when we were first looking to get tequila, we got asked, well, have you got permission and your documentation from the IMPI? And pretty much, who's the IMPI? Do we need to do this? And tripped our way along through it all. And, fortunately, we had decent lawyers. And that's, you just love and just a lot of determination to make it work. And we're still here. So it's working a little bit anyways.
So how long have you had your label? How long have you had
about 6 years now. We actually
on the 5 year 5-year hurdle.
Past the threshold. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And actually it was kind of funny because when we sent the formula, Troy and I actually had a conversation, and I had a concern about the amount of cinnamon. And I had the email typed up to go into Juan to El Vejito with the formula, and we made a last-minute decision and rounded up, and then rediscussed it, rounded up another number again, and send. And they flew those 2 bottles to San Francisco, which we got a silver medal in. And then about 5.5, 6 months later, we put our first bottle on the shelf in Canada. So it was a good way to open up, come out of the gate, at least with a decent award. And
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, San Francisco's they've got this lion's share of the shows. This one they won a silver medal in the 2011 San Francisco World Spirits Competition. So, because I'm looking at, you're always so accommodating to us, and we have 2 bottles here, 4 bottles, because Lisa likes to bake and cook with this stuff.
I love to cook with this stuff. And you know what? I'm taking advantage of the camera not being on right now. I have pumpkin cookies.
Oh.
I'm actually eating a pumpkin cookie while I'm sipping this tequila. And it is phenomenal. With everything pumpkin. I don't make pumpkin pie without putting your tequila in it.
I would think the maple works really well, doesn't it?
It's amazing. It really is.
I will be honest.
We use it quite a bit also. We actually right now, Roxanne's got a big jug in the liquor cabinet with raisins and about 5 ounces of maple tequila. We just keep switching it around. It's going to go into something in about 2 months from now, probably. It's kind of how things go. We cook with an awful lot also. A lot of sauces.
Isn't that a German thing to soak raisins in vodka?
I believe it is actually. Yeah. It just seems like a good thing to do.
It's like a medicinal thing because somebody told that to my mom, and there was a longtime friend that we have that the family has, and she gave her that suggestion, and so she takes, she had been soaking raisins in vodka, and she would have like a raisin a day or 2 or 5 raisins a day or something. I don't know what. And I said, why? I asked her. I asked my mom why. And she said, well, vodka. Well, she says it's it's good for you. It's like a vitamin or something. So it's like, okay,
sure, it's like a vitamin, but it's vodka.
It's like one of those old wives' tale. The kids are crying. Here, have some cough syrup.
yeah. Or well, when you're teething, you use it to numb the gums. And honestly, in Mexico, I've seen them use Blanco tequila to numb the gums, whereas in other countries they'll use whiskey, whatever's available. Because it's a numbing thing.
The pepper, right?
Yeah, just for medicinal purposes anyway. But
what Roxanne is doing is actually a really cool idea, though, because we could soak raisins in that and then put them in cookies.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I'll be honest with you. When Lisa brought this to me, and she says, "Yeah, it's a maple cinnamon liqueur," and I said, Alex and I, we've had so many different types of tequila that's been infused or that have been done really poorly, and other ones that are.
Lisa always has to take the infusions for the team, but you know what? I took this one, and they were like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's really good. We want to do that one too."
Well, I've had stuff like Agavero, for instance, from Jose Cuervo, which is made with Damiana. And
I like the orange. I love the orange, but it's sweet.
The orange I've had, and I prefer the original recipe, but I will tell you that you have the small cordial glasses or a small, they used to come with their own little orange glasses. I think, when you get the gift sets, they would come with their own glasses, and they're kind of smaller, more for liqueurs. And honestly, I could only take like a couple of those, sipping them, before it just coats your palate, and I just got sick of it. So when Lisa brought this to me, I said, "What is it going to taste like, Aunt Jemima?"
Yeah.
And it didn't. Nope. And I said to her, "Okay, you're from Maine. Is this? I'm from Southern California originally." So I asked her. I said, "Is that what maple really tastes like?"
Southern California doesn't know maple.
We don't know maple.
I remember carrying buckets of maple sap as a kid and boiling that stuff down on a wood stove. I know maple. This is maple.
Oh, yeah. And we use actually Citadel Cooperatives, which is one of the largest producers in the world, right? So, and I went through a lot of maple. I went through 12 different kinds of maple before I decided on what we used. And it was just a continual development. We got real close right off the bat, and spent about 6 months, I guess, doing a little liver damage and experimenting and playing around. And I had 2 flavors, and we did a blind taste test, and it was, we're going to go with this or this. And what we went with was the cinnamon. And there's another flavor that's in the background, but we'll see what happens with that. It's a tough market, and if it's not viable, it's not worthwhile doing. We're going to make some changes with what we're going to offer, what we have now. We're going to go to a 500 ml bottle. We're going to offer it both markets, U.S. and Canada, which essentially is the exact same bottle, only about an inch smaller in diameter, and just 500 mils. It's a price point.
Yeah.
And we're going to see, we're really tough at the 50 mils. They're really, especially coming in British Columbia and Canada here, we can't get a CSBC code form to bring them in to sell them. So you're bringing them in by just a broker, and the costs are just astronomical and you're just giving them away anyways as samples. So there is a program where you can sell them, and we're right now in negotiations trying to get into that, and makes it just better and lets people buy a 2 ounce or 50 mil at the till on the way out the door and give it a shot.
Right.
Yeah. Hold up the bottle again so people can see the label. Normally we do it all the time because I'm all about product placement. But again, we have no camera unless you're seeing it. But that's really, now who came up with the design? Was that something that you did or
I did actually. Troy had said that we got some paperwork done. The lawyers had come together. The company was formed. He says, okay, now we need a label. He says, what do you got? Joking around. And I had an idea. And I actually pulled an image of a maple leaf, an image of an agave off the internet, reduced and shrunk the sizes, photocopied them, cut them out, taped it, did another photocopy, scanned and send, and went. And Troy walked into Ralph's office about 20 minutes later and said, what do you think? He goes, well, it's a little crude. He goes, yeah. And he's bleeding from the paper cuts too. So, and that's pretty much what I came up with from the get-go. And then the graphics department, of course, gets a good image and colors it. And we actually had changed right before we printed the labels. We had a yellow the color to the font and changed it to the gold right at the very last minute. And that was the printer saying, hey, you should go with this, a little classier. And that's kind of how the label ran. Just everything we did just kind of ran right from the get-go. It just rolled right along. And, you know, hey, we're just worked out. Very little drama, so to speak, other than not having a ton of market share. And that's tough.
Well, now, explain to us how many partners are involved with the.
There's 3 of us all together.
How many?
3 altogether, including myself.
Okay, and why don't you name those guys? Give them some props because they're putting up with you.
well, Troy is my business partner. Troy and I have a deal, and the owner, Mr. Berzan, who doesn't like to be mentioned, he likes to stay very quiet about it. He just believed in what we were doing, and Troy works for him and approached him with a business proposal, and he said, it sounds awesome. I like the idea. Let's see what happens. And gave us a year, and we're in year 6, so apparently we're doing okay. He pretty much just stays out of it, and I start all the fires, and Troy comes along and picks me up and puts them out. Straightens me out and tells me, well, cowboy, settle down. We're not going to give away any more of this or any more of that. And, you know, what? I'm more like, sure, we can. Here, and here, you need a drink too. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And it's more the people that I've met in the industry via social media and like this. It's absolutely amazing, the heritage of it. It fascinates me.
Well,
so it's become a big love.
You know, I gotta say, now's a good time to really mention this. Other brand owners have mentioned to us how great you are about, you know, retweeting and sharing stuff on social media about other brands, and we love seeing that because the smaller craft brands really need to help each other out, and it's not enabling competition so much as it is lifting each other up in the industry. And we've had comments from other brand owners about how great you are at sharing things. So congratulations to you, props to you for that.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. There's a few players, and there's endless mention that are, I find it just amazing listening to them speak. Germán, of course, for one, and Guillermo, another. They're just amazing people to listen to and their knowledge. And, I think we'd be idiots if we thought we were going to come into the game and act like we know anything. The advantage is we have a distillery that's almost 80 years old, and they have all sorts of heritage and knowledge, and they take care of us. We've had a great deal with El Vejito. Juan has been absolutely amazing to us. We've become a very good friend as well as someone we do business with, I really learned a lot from that and the stories of how everyone struggled. Mike, when we went on regarding the organic claim and did some investigating, and it was just a quick call to Troy, and I laid it out in a presentation quickly, and he goes, done. He says, we're out of this. Get rid of it now. More so because we didn't want to misrepresent the situation.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, I think we should mention the gnome of the distillery. It's 1107, right?
1107, El Viejito.
El Viejito. And, you know, for a long time before Wayne came onto the scene, El Viejito had a very bad reputation. It was at one point a major subcontractor for Patron. And even prior to that, you know, it had a very bad reputation in the industry, simply because it was considered that anybody could get their line made at that distillery. And yet, I would say in the last 5 to 10, well, probably the last 7 years, guys like you, guys like Gary Eisenberger of Karma, have spoken very highly of all the improvements that El Viejito has done. I think once Patron pulled out and built their own distillery, that El Viejito just whoever it is that's there, the family. They didn't have to do it the Patron way anymore. You know, I don't know the inside. I mean, they really upped their game, and I don't know if they recruited guys like you, or, you know, because there are always investors coming into Mexico looking to make their own brand, you know, one way or the other. And
right.
And I you know, Gary Eisenberger, who he and I speak a lot, and he's the owner of Karma Tequila, speaks very highly of 1107, how they've improved their environmental situation. I think you admitted that they have organic inclinations, you know, that they, and I think their water recycling situation is improved vastly.
They're now gone to a reverse osmosis. One actually sent me the link, and he has sent me many links as they're, you know, doing some of their social media developments in the facility, increasing size and aging rooms, more modern milling equipment, new boilers, you know, evaporator, just as they've been progressing over the last 6 years. And you know, the room to put some of that equipment in has got to be expensive enough, never mind the equipment. So they've got to be obviously trying to, you know, really run a real good show, and I have nothing but positive experiences with them all the way along.
Well, I know that they at one point were making Peligroso, and then when Diageo bought them, Diageo has obviously moved it to another distillery at this point. But you're laughing, and I know why you're laughing, because you know,
I lost some cinnamon. Actually, we had an inventory issue that was an honest mistake, and that's actually where it went to, and they got an award with it.
Well, you know, because Alex and I did the review of Peligroso cinnamon, and prior to that,
and we love that stuff. I love that.
Lisa loved it because they had sent her the bottle, and this was prior to Diageo picking up Peligroso.
Another one I didn't mind taking to the team.
Yeah, because, you know, prior to that, Jose Cuervo sent for Singe, I'm sorry. And that was a fiasco and a disaster. So when we said, you know, cinnamon, okay, yeah, right. But I was a big fan of Peligroso, the original Peligroso, 1107. I thought it was very well done, you know, all the entire line. So I was willing to take a look at it. And to Lisa's surprise, it was really a winner. So when you said something about the cinnamon just recently, you know, you guys were, like you said, there was some sort of inventory problem going on.
Not really. Well, it was, we did it, we were short a little bit. What had happened, it got grabbed from the wrong shelf, and it wasn't really a big deal. But I kind of laughed because I had already ordered in more, and we used the same Peligroso, so they're using the same source. There's really only one major source in the world for your cinnamon like that, and it's coming out of Sri Lanka. So it pretty much, it's, you know, everybody's doing it. So
yeah,
it was kind of a funny thing that, you know, at the same time we were trying to go, well, those numbers don't look right, and I'm digging in, you know, files in the computer of our inventories, and okay, and then we made this up, and then we did that, and, you know, plussing and minus, and out the good old pen and paper coming out and doing adding. But just was funny, and they won an award. I'm like kind of laughing. I'm like, hey, do I get piece of that? Can I get some royalties, maybe?
Well, you get an assist.
The mortgage.
You get an assist. Right. You know, at least it wasn't a shot on goal. You got an assist.
Yeah, something. Come on, throw me a bone.
So I want to know when the De La Tierre hockey shirts and hockey masks come out.
Oh yeah. You know what? And Troy's a huge hockey fan too, right?
Actually, your money would probably be better spent. Maybe sponsoring minor league hockey. I don't know.
I don't know. Those hockey shirts would be epic.
Yeah.
Like last time, Troy made up some shirts, and I laughed. I said, "Well, we're in the bowling league now." They were like Charlie Sheen bowling shirts. I think I wore it once.
Shirts are
oh, it was horrible.
Bowling shirts.
I do. I love bowling shirts and Hawaiian shirts. Because they're the only ones that really fit these days.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had a couple beers poolside today. I'm in a loose fitter right now too, but I'm bamboo because I'm pretty good at sunburn from yesterday.
Okay, so where in the U.S. can they find De La Tierre? And I know you said you're available in Texas. Is that right? Or at least you can be distributed in Texas.
Yeah, we had a guy that was moving it in LaGrange, and we really didn't do too much with it. It was just a matter of getting the legals taken care of, and we had a plan. And due to a bit of a personal thing that happened, we had to really just take a step back and let nature take its course, and kind of did the celebration of life, and we moved on. And it really was derailing for a couple of years. So right now we're in the process of rebuilding and seeing what we're going to do in Texas and make it more available, because got a couple 300 cases sitting doing nothing but aging. So maybe we can increase the price if it's aged more.
Well, the thing with now you start this unlike some of the other cinnamons that we've had. We this year, Alex and I, we did a sipping off the cup with Soldado, which is a Serrano and cinnamon. And that was actually very well done, but it starts with an añejo tequila. You say this this is a repo, correct? This is a
repo, yes.
6 to 8 months age.
9, I believe.
9. So it's got a
8.5. One said he goes just less than 9, so whatever that means.
Yeah, so it's about 8 months plus, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so again, different. Doesn't start with a Blanco, because I think what does Peligroso do? Do they do the same thing, or was that? I think Peligroso is a Blanco.
I think Peligroso is a Blanco.
They use a Blanco, and of course, then it's a 42% coming out,
right,
rather than a 40% reposado. So they get their alcohol content up slightly. The maple syrup is what pulled us down. It's fairly thick. We really, every time Troy came to town, I had a bunch of samples made up with and notes, and it was just blind. What do you think? And I'm now at a point where I've really lost my flavor for some things. I'm a little toned to it. Some days the cinnamon is really, really strong to me, and other days it isn't. So it was always good having Troy show up as a test group, and we just, what do you think? And it was like more. And the maple syrup, the amount of cinnamon was pretty much right on in the beginning. And like I said, we did just a real last minute variation, and I hit send at the same time. And but the maple syrup, we really took it back and went each direction, and it came down to color, flavor, and just the availability to mix it and hopefully keep a liquor content up as high as we did. I never thought we would get 35%. I thought we'd be lower. So I was quite surprised and happy. And now years later, it's like, well, maybe we should have used the Bronco or an Inferno and tried to get it up, but we wouldn't have the barrel flavor that I wanted.
This has got really nice wood. You've got nice wood. Your cinnamon and your maple are balanced really really
That's
gently.
That's what really impressed me the most. Yeah. One, the fact that, for those of us who have never really had real maple, because like I say, if you grow up in Texas or you grow up in anywhere else, real maple's hard to come by. Never had maple candy. So I'll be the first one to say, for anyone listening or watching or both, that it's not going to be what you think is what we grew up with as thinking is maple syrup. It's not what you get at IHOP. It's not what you get at Denny's. Right. It's not It's not Aunt Jemima.
True maple is a very delicate flavor.
See, and that's not what I can tell you that even once or twice, even in Southern California, going horseback riding, you can smell maple depending on where you're riding, in the country. And if there are maple trees, you can smell it. And I'm such an idiot. The first thing I ever said when I smelled maple in the air, I said, pancakes. And I thought somebody was making, there was a house nearby, but there was nobody around, and then the gal I was with at the time said, no, there are maple trees here. That's what you smell.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. I said the same thing when I walked into a barrel room. The first thing I said was añejo, and because it was the smell of the wood in the barrel room. So what really impressed me was the balance of the maple with the wood, and that has got to have been the toughest thing because it is not going to be what people think. It's not going to be overdone. And that's what I loved about it. Because even agavero can be overdone. So,
yes. I found that the more, initially we started off, and, it's funny, there literally was Aunt Jemima in the mix. Troy and I were literally driving down the street to go to the hardware store, and he just looked over and he goes, buddy, he says, I've always wanted to put juice in a bottle. I got an idea, and I want to know if you want to be partners with me. And I'm like, well, of course, we've already been friends for almost 30 years at that point. And by the time we came home, it was, hey, we're going to start a tequila company, and opened the cabinet up. And matter of fact, there was Aunt Jemima in there. Aunt Jemima with butter. Trust me, not very good with tequila.
Tequila with butter, there's a famous one. We were speaking of Patron, as a matter of fact, when we had Roca Patron.
Oh yeah.
We had the whole line, and of course there are different ABVs, and the Blanco was okay. It was all right, and then we had the Repo and the Añejo, and I said then that the Reposado is the star of the show, but on the nose, butter. And it's not it's not even real butter. It's like how when you take microwave popcorn,
it's like country
and that
crock
smell,
butter.
It's like a little red box,
country crock.
Yeah. And I go, that's
like margarine.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not butter,
Yeah.
So so I can be the first one to tell you that if you can get past Roca Patron's nose, it's actually not bad because it doesn't cross in the flavor profile, but on the aroma, it's not very attractive. You have to get past that. But so I can imagine that Aunt Jemima with
it was a pretty funny story. I actually have a photo that we had not too long ago, and I'm going to post it to social media one day. But it was kind of day one in the kitchen, and we literally just had 4 or 5. I went to Safeway, bought some pure maple syrup and multiple medium, light, organic, and cleaned out the spices cabinet and took a shooter glass and just poured and stirred and took a sip, and that was terrible. I went to the kitchen sink, and we just kept going. And within about an hour and a half, we had an idea. The cinnamon was a bit of an issue regarding using real cinnamon or not, because obviously if it sits on the shelf or it's in a warehouse for a year, it's going to be a lot stronger than if it was only a month old. No quality control. So we moved into that. But the maple, I went through 12 different kinds, like I said, and it was amazing the difference as you get to the darkers and the organics. The more burnt flavor didn't necessarily work with the barrel as well. little too much almost bourbon. It became like a bourbon, a little different.
It was almost like Scotch or rum or something. Yeah, made out of molasses and the barrel is charred also. So the flavors were conflicting.
It really was confusing. What I finally ended up using, it fortunately is available, but it's not very abundant in the market. As an industrial grade, it is, but as like supermarket, you don't see a lot of. I use amber, maple syrup. There's not a lot of amber around. It's usually medium, or they go into the darks, or light. And it just happened to work out. The day I phoned Citadel, they were short-staffed on the sales desk. I happened to get the sales manager, and he thought it was really cool that we were going to do a tequila using maple syrup from Canada and Quebec, and we were Canadian. And it was cold and miserable there, and we were on the west coast, and it's nice and warm, so he was jealous. And he sent me out a kit that had concentrates, every maple syrup that Citadel Cooperatives makes, plus their concentrates, plus all the maple sugar. It was an amazing kit that I got to play with, and
we have a.
Keep in mind, of course, though, that every time I added the formula to a bottle, it was in a 26er, and if it didn't work out, that bottle was spoiled, so we had to dispose of it more or less. Had a lot of friends over that year, I'll tell you.
That's losing money through chemistry.
Yeah. We went through a lot.
Because chemistry can serve you.
Well, we were very fortunate because we're friended. We talked to and interviewed Ana Maria Romero Mena, who is she's a catadora. She teaches catadores and chemical engineers and brand ambassadors how to taste tequila. And we were very fortunate. We interviewed her for a Women in Tequila series, and she sent us her aroma kit, which is her very own invention.
Oh.
And it was amazing to see it because originally it appeared in a Spanish soap opera, and I thought, when it first made its appearance on TV, my mother was watching the soap opera. She says, "Have you ever seen this kit?"
Destilando Amor.
And I said, that kit is a prop. It doesn't exist.
It does.
It does exist.
We have it.
And the originator sent it to us, and it's amazing. It's all the flavors that have been defined so far. The major flavors defined throughout the tequila process, whether it's fermentation, distillation. So, and it's got a great aroma wheel that has never been, it's only been copied or adopted by one other website, but it is the truest.
We won't mention that.
We won't mention that website, but it is the true. Most of
stole it.
Right. Most of the ones that you see are the ones adapted from wine. And
yes.
This one is her own.
52 vials of fun.
Yeah, and so I can imagine the kind of fun that you had because you got to taste and smell, whereas these are just the aroma wheels. So if you smell gasoline or fuel, it's in a vial. If you smell cinnamon or bourbon or whatever, that's in a vial. And it's kind of neat to it's probably the most interesting thing that we have in our library. So I can only imagine how much fun you had when they sent all that.
With
all that maple. Oh my God!
Yeah, still have some of the concentrate kicking around, but it really you really notice the difference of the delicacies of between organics, regular maple syrups, even the darks, and the different colors, and just some of the different grades and textures. Made a totally different flavor.
Is that an organic maple? No? Okay.
No. Well, it's not. It is, or they do claim organic status out of Citadel, but we didn't specifically use organic. We used their amber grade A number 2.
All right.
industrial grade maple comes in a big, tote. It costs us about 3 times the amount that tequila does. Actually, it's really expensive.
Lisa will tell me stories of how they used to gather the sap and all that stuff. Yeah. So it's really labor intensive, just like himando, like a himador, or.
Absolutely.
There's just some things that you can't take a shortcut with.
Yeah, mapling. That's serious.
Mapling. Can you believe that? I think when she was telling me these stories, I mean, you're lying to me. That's a story.
That's just as serious as the humidor, because they got
Quick, we'll look up Wikipedia and see if that's a real word.
Hey. Genealogy, man.
She's a Tebow, She's French.
Yeah.
All bad.
Seriously, you got to know where to tap the tree. I mean, my grandfather was amazing at this. You had to know where on the tree to tap it.
It's a talent.
You had to know when to tap it. I mean, it was an art. You had to know when geez, my Pepe he would sniff the air and say, okay, it's time to tap the trees now, and then we'd go tap the trees. But,
yes. By the way, his grandfather, for those of you who are Canuck impaired, like I am, Canadian impaired. Well, we trade all these words back and forth because of course I speak Spanish. Spanish is my first language, actually. You wouldn't know it, but and she speaks fluent French as well as like Russian. She would have been a Russian linguist. So anytime I hear Russian, like when we watch, action films, I go, what did they say? And she can remember some of the interpretations. But so we trade back and forth some of these words.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn Spanish, but my bilingualism is usually hand gestures.
Well, how's your French?
Terrible. I think I got in grade 8 or grade 9 French. I think it was a C+U and recommended to never take French again. Didn't work out. Yep. My mom was a school teacher and is, fluent in French, Spanish, German. She lived in the Canary Islands for 20 years. So, of course, she spoke a lot of Spanish. I've tried, and, Roxy and I we both got online courses, and I just can't seem to. I'm not spending enough time, to be honest. I'm not dedicating myself like I need to.
I tell this to Lisa, too. It takes total immersion. You need to spend like 3 months to 6 months, in Mexico, and really make an effort, because there's really only one way to do it. Of course, we live in San Antonio, so all we have to do is immerse ourselves in Old Town, and Riverwalk. Yeah. So tell me, and tell our listeners now and viewers, some of those who are still watching, how can they get their hands on this? This is a high intensity liqueur with maple. It's so well balanced. I can't say enough about how versatile it really is. I mean, for those of you we're in Texas, the big barbecue state. If you're in Texas, you want to be able to add this to your barbecue sauce. Yeah. All right, and be able to do stuff like ribs, and it's a big meat state. Where can they find it? How can they get a hold of you? What is it that you need that we can facilitate here to get you stronger in the States?
Central Texas Spirits in LaGrange is our importer in Texas. So anything go through Mike Fahrenholt. Contacting me directly at wrezunik at gmail.com, or even through our website at canadianmapletequila.com, which goes directly to Troy's office. We can always figure and move product. We're legal to sell anywhere in the U.S. We're a couple months behind on what we wanted to take care of as far as opening up more locations or getting the product moving. We're really doing nothing with it but sitting on it. but we had a couple stumbling where we had to take care of Canada first, and we're just finishing that right now, and working on this 500 ml bottle. We're trying to actually do an order where we do the U.S. and Canada all together, and then aggressively go. So within the next month here, we should have an idea what we're going to be doing actually directly in Texas, and I'm hoping to get down to the Bar Festival in August there.
The other one that we would recommend for you, if we can be so bold,
oh, absolutely,
the Texas Bar and Nightclub Association, which is held in Austin, the TBNA.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to actually do. That's August,
yes,
is it not?
Yeah, it's in August. It's
12 to 16.
I think it's a Sunday, Monday, and I'll have to look. You can find it. By the way, for those of you listening and those of you watching, you can find Tierre maple cinnamon tequila. You can find them easily on Facebook. You can find Wayne on Facebook. They're also available on Instagram. You guys you're doing an Instagram as well. You know, you're very accessible. You're great on Twitter. You've got a great UK following. So hopefully our
those guys are good boys.
Our boys that live in the UK, when they wake up in the morning and they see only half of us, you know, they'll be able to, you know.
They didn't want to see us anyway.
Yeah, you know, we're not that attractive. We don't have that $1 million smile like Wayne does,
right.
You know. My teeth aren't as good.
Yeah, we can sit here and drink all day.
That's okay.
I was actually thinking Lou had maybe a couple too many. Did you see I was commenting if that pool was in a prison somewhere?
No, I don't know. Lou's in Long Island, you know, but we're trying to get, you know, our thing with Tequila Aficionado and our thing with Open Bar is to have, you know, it's interesting because you guys are a brand of promise. You're bronze medal winner as well, and you know we see that the big guys don't need us. It's always the startups. It's always the brands that
I gotta say that bronze medal only happened because Avion put espresso in their tequila.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. Otherwise, you'd have been gold or silver.
Yeah, that was who you were going up with at the time.
You went up against.
It's a good product.
Yeah,
it really is.
And honestly, to be a silver medal winner at San Francisco, especially in 2011, that's not a bad thing. That is actually, you know, of all the bigger shows that there are, and of course they're starting to get some bad press. Some people don't like the fact that everybody that enters seems to win a medal. But I think I think you guys, yours is very well deserved because there's a significant amount of tequila involved. It's not a liqueur like we're used to in the States. And number two, the balance. I think that was what Alex and I were really, really impressed with, was the balance between the maple and the barrel. And because we know we've had terrible tequilas. We know how hard it is to get right. And you guys got it right. So, you know, if there's anything that we can do on our end, that's what this show is all about. If you're looking to open up new states, say so. You know, if you need help on something else, you know, whatever.
We're definitely looking for help in Texas. Anybody that's available wants to bring us on. We're more than happy to do business there. You know, we're ready to go. We've got product there, and like I said, there's some things that happened that we had to take a step back, and fortunately, we were able to do that. And work in the backlight, working on other different things, and well, you know, we're always diversifying in a lot of different areas of what we're trying to do, and our home market is probably one of our toughest ones too because it's government controlled.
Yeah.
And if they don't want you on the government store shelves, and you're on the private store system, and it's just not as easy.
Yeah. Well, you know, anything that we can do to advocate for you and for Tierre, we're all about it because honestly, this product is so well done.
If you haven't tasted it, and especially for the Texas market, I mean, I'm surprised this isn't just being swallowed whole by the Texas market because we are we always have like a pot of pulled pork in my crock pot, and I put this in the pork. Now, here in Texas, you know, chicken is fairly expensive.
Again, it's a beef, barbecue market.
Beef is fairly expensive, but pork is really inexpensive. So if you want to feed a whole bunch of people, you're gonna throw some pork in a crock pot, slow cook it, and make pulled pork. And let me tell you, this tequila was phenomenal. We had it in the last batch, and it is phenomenal. You splash a little bit of this in your crock pot, and then just let it cook for like a day, and it's amazing. And you know, people might be put off because they're used to like Fireball and all of those crazy.
Yeah,
candy.
this is crazy candy stuff. It's not like that. This isn't a candy flavor.
This is a really delicate, lovely sipper. And you know, like I've said before, and I'll keep saying, and you know, I've got it all over Pinterest, but I love cooking with this. I really love cooking with this. I put it in pumpkin pie. I put it in pumpkin cookies. Everything. Waffles. It's
hungry now.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's so versatile too. That's just it.
It's amazing that you can cook with it and sip it.
You know, there's a use, just like the tequila market feels that there's a market for every type of tequila, every style of tequila is what they say, including diffusion tequila.
I don't mind a few. I mean, I hate to admit it, but I found out later it was diffuser, and I'm like, oh, still don't mind it.
Yeah, honestly, even though I'm not as a purist, I'm not a big fan of it. But when it comes to infusing flavors in your tequila, it seems that diffused tequila seems to acquire is better for it. You know, so there's a lot of diffused tequila that is being used as for infusion that is really done well. Okay, so as far as this goes, I love the versatility that it's real tequila, real maple, with a real balance, and that's what I really enjoy with a higher ABV than what we're used to. So I can't sing enough of the praises of
it's really a wonderful product.
And if anybody wants to, you know, get a hold of Wayne, like I say, you can find him on Twitter, you can find him on Facebook, you can find him on Instagram. He's very readily available. Now, and to be fair, you have a day job. I mean, it's not like this is your only deal, right?
Yeah, I drive truck for a living.
Yeah,
actually.
See, he's on the road all the time, but the guy is connected, so.
Well, you know what? It doesn't hurt so bad delivering liquor. And I've been going to the same places for 15 years. So as the tequila came along, we got a lot of support that way in our local market. They were, you know, knew me, and they were, wow, how's that going? Or, you know, and at first it was more, so how's that tequila thing going? It's like, oh, no, we're plugging away. And then as the awards started rolling along and this and that, it was, you know, hey, what's your CSPC number? We want to get you on the shelf. And they did. So we've been very lucky at the ground level as a local word of mouth. And, you know, it helps, like I say, going into lots of different stores, and, you know, you're talking with the managers as you're delivering their liquor. And you can talk about stuff. And there's one thing I learned an awful lot about doing this project was barreling and distilling, and it's just different spirits. It's very fascinating, and once you know some of the principles, it's pretty cool to roll through it all. But you know, still got to make a paycheck and pay the bills.
What would you say to people who are maybe contemplating getting into the tequila business, you know, with their own label? What would you say to them now that you've got 6 years under your belt? You know, in another country, you know, so you're dealing with two different types of laws, you know, labeling laws and such. Three. Let's just go three, because
three with Canada, yeah.
Well, so what would you say to them? What advice would you have for somebody's contemplating a startup?
You definitely be diligent. Follow your dream. Just keep pursuing it. Don't expect it to go real quick. And it does take time. I think it took us 6 months to get our INPI alone. Our trademarks, they take time. They take lawyers. They take money. As long as you go into the project that realistically pursue your dream, why not? It's not that difficult. You just got to put a lot of hours in and just keep plugging away. And I think it's like anything. For me, it's a real love, and it's just become part of my life. So it's not work anymore. It's just, it's part of life.
So explain to me again. This was an idea that your partner came to you with? Was this like after a vacation? All you guys went on vacation to Cabo? How did this work out?
Being hungover, I guess, is kind of like a vacation. Actually, Troy was out a bit of a tequila vendor and went for pancake dinner. And when it come out, it was on his breath. He said, "Hey, that's not so bad. Maybe that's a flavor," and ran it by me. And
I love it.
We progressed to the cinnamon being just natural, maple and cinnamon to me. But I happened to look in the cupboard. It was maple cinnamon oatmeal, and it was, hey, well, how about this? And off we went from there. And it literally was in the kitchen sink, but it literally came from the next day's tequila breath and some pancakes. You don't tell too many people that story.
You guys didn't go into Tic Tacs or Banaka. It could have been a whole other thing.
That's what I said. I was, glad he did go for burritos right away. That might not have been a good mix. Although these are really good with black beans, I have to tell you. I drink it pretty much with everything. I spend a lot of time mixing it too and monkeying around. It's really good with baked salmon. Do salmon on the barbecue. It's really good.
Yeah, salmon is kind of gamey. It's a hearty fish. It's a hearty meat.
We were out at the lake and we did 3 salmon. We did one just by itself with butter, onions, and lemon and salt, pepper, of course. We did one with just maple syrup and one with maple tequila. And the maple tequila one was pretty much devoured from the get-go. It just really brought out a great flavor. And we use it for cooking all the time for stuff. I throw in my spaghetti sauce every now and then.
Well, do you have any of those recipes available on your website, or share those?
They're all on our website. The pairings are in there. There's quite a bit of food stuff on there. The chicken maple fajitas were spectacular, which is on our website also.
Yeah, see, we're just she's in charge of the kitchen, so I'll go, "Hey, hon, what do you think?" And she'll go, "No," So
your place.
Oh yeah, mine's in front of the grill, in front of me.
I seem to suffer from that same affliction. Roxy just gives me that look with knife in hand, and I do an about face and go to a safety zone and go pour tequila.
A gal with a knife in her hand. That's the first rule of barbecue fight club. Never piss off the girl with the knife.
That's funny.
Oh my God, Wayne! Thank you so much for being with us, man. For putting up with our with Blab's problems and our problems.
No problem. I appreciate all that you guys have done for us. You've been huge support for us too, and it's. I look forward to hopefully us getting there in August, where it's either that or we may go to the Latin Food Fest. It's in Troy's court right now, and I'm about due to send him one of those reminder emails of remember the last reminder. Well, you need to get on it.
The other show that I would recommend would be the Latino food show. What was it? We did that.
I think they call it the
Sabor Latino Food Show. Sabor Latino Food Show. It's held in Pasadena, California. It's in California though, so the gal who runs it's a wonderful gal. You can find our write-up on tequilaaficionado.com. It's a great show for for small brands that want to break into the Latino market, which I think would be a real hidden gem for you guys, because
I do too.
I think because of the versatility, I can see a Puerto PB with this tequila in it. I can see a lot of, they're really very, very Latino oriented. The gal that does it has a lot of different shows under her belt. She's very sharp. I was there with another tequila a year or two ago. They were wonderful. They're wonderful people. So I think that's another one we should look into. They'll show up in Austin for sure. If you're going to be there, we're going to be there. And I can't wait to hang out with you guys, because I tell you what, Texas market, hold up your bottle again. Show that bottle. Be proud of that label. I'm telling you, Texas, you're going to see a lot of these guys, because if you're not serving it at your bar, you're going to be using it in your barbecue.
Great margaritas.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you could. See, all your recipes are available on your website. I'm sure.
And we are in the process of redoing our website real shortly here, too.
Well, again, you're very accessible on social media. Get a hold of Wayne. Get a hold of us. We'll get a hold of him, because we follow each other very closely. Again, thanks for putting up with our mess here. But I so love this tequila. Say hi to Roxy.
Yes.
I will.
And if it's not too late, go back out to the pool and get some more of it.
I'm headed out there. Good thing the camera's from this up, because I'm still in beach shorts and I'm going right back.
You're sitting on your towel, aren't you?
Oh, actually, I dried off while I had my beer before I came up.
All righty. Well, good deal. Thanks again, man.
Much,
I appreciate this, man. Thank you so much.
Hey,
see you later, man. Catch you later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.